Bonus level!
Wow.
Wow. Hi, welcome to a deep analysis of the Steam Deck. This is, I guess, bonus level. I haven't really decided what show it's going to be. Anyway, we are your host, Zach, Qate, Carter, and we have a guest on, Zane. Say hi, Zane.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, shit. We actually are popular enough that we have a guest. Or we at least have somebody that wants to come on the show.
Well, of course, yeah. I listen to it every week.
Oh, really? That's
He's
fucking
lying.
awesome.
I do.
I had to put a gun to
So
his
you're
head.
well aware of how much of an idiot I am then.
No, I wouldn't say that.
You're very special.
Yes, special is a good way to put it. It's a way to
Okay,
put it if
so-
you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about the Steam Deck, which is Valve's
Wow.
new portable handheld gaming computer. So we're actually I'm gonna talk about its design, I'm gonna talk about its hardware, and I'm gonna see, is it actually capable of what Valve's saying it's capable of, which is playing AAA games at a solid performance and frame rate and everything. And we're gonna talk about some of the software, it's actually really cool, and we're gonna talk about the longevity of the system. So, on July 15th, 2021 at 1 p.m., Valve introduced the Steam Deck. And they announced it in a tweet that says, "Introducing Steam Deck, powerful portable PC gaming starting at $399. Designed by Valve, powered by Steam, shipping December 2021." And it came out of nowhere. Notably, it came like a few days after the Switch OLED was revealed. And funnily
You think
enough,
they
people
planned
were
that?
calling. I think so, maybe.
I think definitely.
Yeah, because I mean the hardware isn't final yet, but we do have a good look at what it will be. So I think they're like, yeah, the Switch OLED is not, it isn't the Switch Pro, so let's release the Switch Pro.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that bezel looks a lot like the old Switch.
it does, but I don't think it's as bad as the old Switch.
I think the screen looks bigger.
We'll get into that soon. So you can pre-order the device as of right now, but technically you do have to reserve it. So you can sign up to reserve it, and you will have to pay $5, and that way they know how many devices they should make. Yeah, it's like I think they give it back to you, but I think it's more of like a I plan to buy this and this is how serious I am about buying it. So after
I
you
bet
reserve
$5 I will buy this.
So after you reserve it, they'll send you an order invitation around this December, and then you can pay that price, and they'll send it to you. So,
I think I might actually get it, to be honest with you.
dude, I said go half in on me with me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I will, yes. That's a good idea.
Yes.
When is it coming out, though?
This December 2021. It didn't have a specific date, but it is coming out pretty soon.
Alright, that gives me some time.
Zane, are you gonna get it?
I literally just got a Switch about a week ago.
Oh yeah.
And as a big, PC gaming enthusiast, I'm really heavily considering it, honestly.
Yeah, it's just I don't want to have too many things, but I do want to get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd want to get it because, I don't have a PC, but this is basically like a Switch, but a PC. Like, it combines the two. And, we were talking about, I think, a couple weeks ago, we were like, what games would we want to come to the Switch? Well, this basically does that.
Fallout New Vegas,
Yeah.
yes. I want Fallout New Vegas portably, and this is
Yeah,
it.
this
This
does
is my
it.
dream.
Yeah, I mean, it literally lets you play, I'm pretty sure, every Steam game. So, I don't know, it just seems like, that seems like really worth it to me if you don't have a PC and you don't want to, spend over $1,000.
And on top of that, you can unofficially install Windows 10 on it too. So theoretically, you can play all kinds of different itch.io games on it also.
Yeah,
True.
so whenever you said you wanted to have a gaming PC, this could literally be your gaming PC in such a small handheld form.
I mean, is it able to play, everything?
Yes.
I mean, hypothetically,
Hypothetically.
yeah.
Okay, I have some issues with this.
Okay.
I, that control scheme just looks horrendous.
Yeah,
Looks like
we'll
you're gonna
actually
be-
get into that soon.
No. I disagree entirely. I think it
actually
looks
like it.
nice. It's like
Okay, well,
it's where my
it-
fingers would be. Like everything is right up next to each other. Like you look at the Switch controller, you can get used to it. But the freaking the control sticks are like entirely different places on the controllers. This looks nice because it's like all your hands go to one place. That's just nice to me.
okay, well, I'm gonna get into that soon, so just hold your questions there because I have a whole section for talking about the controls. and
I will
everything.
hold my speech against this thing for later.
Hold your speech.
My hate speech.
Okay. Anyway, so the reason that they're
Carter
doing
with
this
his hate speech
reserve,
again.
his hate speech, yeah. The reason they're doing this reserve system is because there's been a massive chip shortage, like as of right now. Plus, scalpers have been like a really big issue. Like, if you actually look, you could see people on eBay putting up this Steam Deck for like $4,000.
Wait, so people actually have it?
No, they don't have it. They just have the reserve that I guess they're gonna pay, and then yeah, it's weird, and I doubt that it would even sell for that much, even if it was like rare. But if you are gonna get it, I do recommend you get it soon because there's probably a ton of people who have reserved it already.
It's gonna be one of those things where it's like the Xbox or like the Xbox and the PS5 whenever they were coming out, where it's like it's gonna be like months. Like it came out already, but it's gonna be like months before we actually get it because so many people are pre-ordering it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
read an article today saying that Valve is already selling into Q2 of 2022 for reservations.
Oh wow,
So they're
that's
already
scary.
pre-selling for literally a year from now, trying to pre-sell for the 649.
Gosh, that chip shortage is so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess this is the way to circumvent the scalpers and chip shortage and stuff. But as you said, it's already reserved for a while now. Okay, so before we talk about the design, software, and specs, I'm going to talk about the three tiers that are available for. So the cheapest tier is $399. It comes with Steam Deck, a carrying case for the Steam Deck, and a USB-C charger. Notably, it only comes with 64 gigabytes of eMMC storage. And I'm going to talk about what eMMC storage is soon. The next tier is $529. It comes with all of the previous items, an exclusive Steam community profile bundle, I don't know what that means, and 256 gigabytes of EVMe SSD storage. So the next tier also comes with the same kind of storage. And let me get into what that means. So we're going to be I'm going to be comparing eMMC storage versus EVMe storage. So eMMC is, I'm just going to say, okay, is a precursor to SSD, so it's not as fast. And it's typically what you find in phones. It's embedded into the device's motherboard, and it isn't made to handle like a ton of storage either. Hence why they only offer it in 64 gigabytes. Similar objects that have this kind of memory are flash drives, USB sticks, SD cards, stuff like that. It can
So like how many games would you be able to hold on there?
Well, if it was something like a Switch, then you could probably hold quite a bit. But since these are PC games, like if you're like Call of Duty Warzone, that's like, how big is that, Zane?
It is roughly 200 gigabytes.
Yeah,
Without the campaign or co-op.
So you could hold a quarter of Call of Duty Warzone on that kind of storage.
So then how do they plan to have anybody play this? If you wanted to play like any modern game on here, then I'm expecting that you'd have to get like a separate.
They're saying that it's going to be micro SD card expandable.
Yeah, just like the Switch.
But if like I doubt that. So like let's say we're using that as a frame of reference, then I would say that only like maybe indie games you could like store those on the storage. But after that, like that's just kind of cheap. I mean, it feels like that to me.
It's not cheap because I think of it like the Oculus Quest 2, because both the Oculus Quest 2 and this device are being sold at a relatively really, really low price. And I'm pretty sure even at this price, like like with the Oculus Quest 2, Facebook is losing money on this. I'm pretty sure Valve is losing money at this tier just because it's so low, at least compared with the hardware. So it's kind of it's the cheapest that they could sell it for, with having like it doesn't have that much storage, sure, but it is like the device itself.
It's
But
pretty
you
much
can't.
assume that you have to get like a separate like card for this.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're not going to be able to hold many things at all.
You hold, like,
Yeah, so
one
it
game,
can. Yeah,
one AAA
it
game,
can
and that's
deliver
it.
up to 400 megabytes, which isn't too bad, but not as fast as SSDs. So SSDs are faster, but they are more expensive. They can typically get up to 3 gigabytes a second, but I don't know how fast it is on a Steam Deck. And the most expensive tier is $649, and it comes with all the previous items. It comes with an exclusive virtual keyboard theme. Whoa. It comes with an exclusive carrying case, so it's different from the previous 2 carrying cases. It comes with premium anti-glare etched glass. So basically it's matte glass instead of glossy glass. And it comes with glossy glass. And it comes with 512 gigabytes of NVMe SSD storage. And Valve said that the more storage you get, the faster it will be. So the faster its read-write capabilities will be. And,
is that true if you were to add storage like yourself? Like if you got one of the like lower tier options and then just got external storage from like.
No,
it is
those
are separate. Yeah, they did say that it is high speed SSD, or not SSD, high speed SD. Like it's capable of that, but those still aren't as fast as SSD.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's not too bad really. It just matters like how fast you want to load things up. But like if you're, I don't know, if you're on an airplane or something, then you really have all the time in the world to be playing along with this.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it comes with like some like game, like it comes like with some free games already, kind of like the PS5 did.
I mean, there is hundreds
Team
of free
Fortress
games
2.
on Steam.
I wonder if you could play
Carter,
TF2 on here.
Yeah, Carter would love to do that, like portably.
No, I hate first-person shooters with controllers. I just can't.
That's understandable.
Yeah, I understand that.
But like, what about the games that are available on the Steam like web store or whatever, but they're not like you're not able to use like a controller with them? Like, did they just not?
That is very
them?
few.
Oh, hey, I'll get into that soon. Okay, that's a very important question. That's a very good question, but I will actually get into that soon because there is something that Valve did to like solve that, I guess. So before we get into the specs, we're going to talk about the design of this beefy boy. So the device is all black. Valve marks its size as 298 millimeters by 117 millimeters by 49 millimeters.
Can I get that in freedom units?
No, because they did not have that on their website, and I did not want to change it. Sorry. In comparison, the Switch has a measurement of 239 millimeters by 102 millimeters by 28.7 millimeters. So according to this, it is slightly longer, taller, and almost twice as wide as the Switch, which is pretty big.
That does not surprise me. Those fucking side controller things look chunky as fuck.
Yeah, they do.
Can I get the length measurement one more time? I'm gonna convert it just so.
Okay, 298.
I was gonna do that, but I'm too lazy.
Wait, actually, I actually have. It's what?
It's 11.7 inches long.
Okay.
This thing is almost a foot long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's 1.8 inches wide versus 55 inches wide. That's the Switch. It's 0.55, not 55. 0.55.
I was about to say.
Wide.
Yeah, 55 would be huge.
I would love to see a Switch made like that, where it's just fucking wide.
Thick.
Yeah, that'd be a really and it's
the
still
thick
have,
Switch.
like, the thick Switch. So
the Switch Thick Edition.
It's pretty. It's bigger than the Switch and it's wider than the Switch. But that isn't really surprising considering the hardware that is in this machine. Another weird thing, which Carter pointed out, is the button placement on this device. So the joysticks are really high up, and they are in line with each other. That means that they're like a lot, like they're in the same place, like a PlayStation controller. Whereas an Xbox controller, Switch controller would have them on like opposite sides of each other. So here's this photo, and you can see like where
Oh,
they
same photo, just white.
different color. That's important.
Mine's better because
Okay.
it's purple.
You see that B button at the top?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
that-
hanging off.
Yeah, you're gonna have to like pinch your fingers together. Like if you like your fingers gonna be on the back by the trigger, and your thumb's gonna be top. You're like it's a pinching motion, and that does not seem ergonomic at all when you're trying to
Well-
play a video game.
Oh
You
yeah,
might be
I can see what
surprised.
you mean. I mean,
You
no,
might be-
look, if you look at like the what like a smart word for this would be, but that little bump on the back, that's where the trigger would be, right? It looks a little bit farther back than like a trigger on a Switch would be.
It is because it's thicker.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah. So
what is
Also-
the placement of the letters? Are they? Is that like how Xbox does it? I want to
yes,
see
it's
like
ABXY.
Yeah.
Same as
Uh,
Xbox.
no, but like,
So-
is it in the exact same place?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Like
okay,
no,
that's-
like not on the controller. It's not in the same place.
no. I mean, like, just that, like, is X usually on
X is-
like the left, and then
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
the button
Yeah.
layout's the same.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
So the joysticks are capacitive, meaning that they will know if your fingers are on them. And I'm going to explain why that matters, I guess, soon. On the left controller, there's a D-pad right next to it with the select button above and in between those buttons. On the right controller, there's the A, B, X, Y buttons right next to the joystick on the right. And there's a menu button above and in between those buttons. And like a Switch, it does have gyroscopic controls and stuff,
Ooh.
so you can do that. So upon looking at people who have tested this device, they say that although it looks weird and uncomfortable, it is surprisingly natural and playable. You may be wondering why they did this. They did this because there are track pads underneath each side of the controller.
Yeah, I was about to say
Similarly-
what that. I was wondering what that was. I thought it was like a mouse thingy.
Yeah, it's the same thing that was in their Steam controllers, and they basically
Yeah.
they said that it's a way better technology, like it's way better, it's more usable and stuff.
Why
basically.
would you like? Why would you need? Why would you need it? Like, I feel like I would prefer using the joystick because that would be like more. That
Yeah.
I would. It would feel more comfortable to me, like it was physical.
Well, the reason why is because the Steam Deck is made for PC games, which means that not all video games on Steam are going to necessarily support a controller configuration right off the bat. So that means that, Valve also intends for the Steam Deck to run computer applications and stuff. So if you need to move a mouse in a game, then this is perfect for that because it gives you that same kind of thing.
It'd be
Zach,
fucking
Wait,
weird
no,
feeling
Zach, I have a
though.
question.
What's up?
Do you have your Xbox controller anywhere nearby?
Yes.
Grab it, and
Okay.
I want you to put your thumb on the button by the X above the joystick, and your hand behind the trigger, not on the trigger, but behind the trigger.
Okay.
Does that feel comfortable? Because that's where the joystick is on that. Like your thumb is where the mini button is,
Man,
and
I
that's
see
a
what you're
that's a
saying.
stretch for me.
I see what you're saying, but like we can't know until we try it in like real life.
Exactly.
That's
Well, I
true.
don't want to spend $400 just to try it.
Well,
Well, just-
we
just
spend the
wait till
$400
people
and then
start
you can
getting it.
try it.
Yeah, just wait till people start getting it, see how they feel. And anyways,
But then
so
we're going to run into the problem you had earlier, where people
there's going to be
where
two,
you don't,
yeah.
if you don't reserve it, you might
People
not be able
get
to find it.
Man,
You can just sell it
if
on
we
eBay.
do get it, we're probably gonna get it like next year. There's no way we're gonna get it this year.
Yeah, and like how I mentioned before that there was capacitive, there was capacitive sensors on the joysticks. I think that's because it acts as kind of like a palm rejection in case you touch the trackpad, because it'll know that since your fingers are on the joysticks and you touch the trackpad, then you probably didn't mean to touch the trackpad. So that kind of resolves that issue.
I
That is-
bet you that the screen is touchscreen.
It is, yes. I was just about to get to that.
I mean, you could just use that then instead of using like trackpad for like mouse games.
Yeah, but they don't really not Windows or anyone else has basically been able to kind of make a mouse act kind of like touchscreen. Like if on Windows, if you touch something, it won't really click it, it'll just move the mouse in a weird way.
Yeah, Windows touch screen is really horrible.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, let's see. Yeah, and also I think that the trackpads can be clicked like the Steam controller, meaning that you can probably configure a specific purpose for either of the trackpads. And underneath those trackpads, or underneath the left trackpad, there is the Steam button, and I'm pretty sure that'll bring up the Steam layout and stuff like the Xbox button or the PlayStation button or the home button for Switch does. And underneath the right trackpad, there's a quick access button. I'm not sure what that does, but I'm sure it's for some purpose.
I just realized something though. We could if we get this, we could get what is it called? That new Nickelodeon Smash Bros game for it. And then it would be like super ripoff because it's like a ripoff Switch and then a ripoff Smash Bros on there. It'd be like so meta.
Yes, that's a bad picture, but it meant to be. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about. Okay, wait. So before I move on to the screen, underneath both the buttons, there's those grills you see right there. Those are actually speakers. So you will get. I don't know if this is. The Switch has front-facing speakers, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it does.
No, it has back-facing
No.
speakers.
No,
Yeah.
Wait, what's that indent in the screen for then?
I have
That's a
no
microphone.
idea.
Microphone?
Oh, is it? Huh.
Oh.
At the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
Yeah,
while
yeah,
we're
it's just a
at
microphone.
it, what is that black bar on like the left or the right? It's only on one of the
The right
Joy-Cons.
Joy-Con?
Yeah.
The IR
It
sensor?
is an IR sensor.
Yeah.
Why is it only on one of them?
Because you don't need it on both.
Yeah.
I don't get that though. Like, does it communicate to the other one then?
I think it's
Bluetooth.
honestly more like a failsafe because Joy-Cons are Bluetooth by nature.
Oh,
I think it really just more like a failsafe in case Bluetooth stuff working. It's kind of like a backup option. But I don't know.
gotcha.
Oh, plus
I
you can
think
use
you
that as like
use
a
it in
really
some
accurate,
games.
like. What?
They do use it in some games.
Yeah,
They use
like
the
some
IR
golf
sensor.
games. It's like super like accurate if you use it in golf.
Yeah,
We
I've
had
played a
the
few
thing.
games with it. It seems pretty nice. I've never had any issues with it. Like, it's basically like a better version of the Wii.
Yeah. So let's talk about that screen. So in between that layout that I just pointed out, there's a 60 hertz, 120 or 1280 by 800 pixel 7-inch LCD touchscreen. It
So
is
no
the
OLED?
same. Yeah, no OLED. But it is the same size, and yeah. So it can reach up to 400 nits, which is around 100 more nits, or it's around like 80 more nits than the original Switch. So
What does
if you
that
put the-
mean?
It means that it brightens up more than the original Switch. Like,
Oh,
you know how you
okay.
can turn the brightness up so it gets brighter.
That's nice.
But I don't know the exact amount of nits of the display of the Switch OLED, but it probably will be like around 600 just based on what OLED is usually, so that's really bright. But I think that this will be a little bit better for outdoor gaming and stuff, because you know how horrible the Switch was at that.
Just
And
for
it has
quick reference, the iPhone 12 Pro is 800 nits on typical and 1200 on HDR mode.
Yeah. And I wonder, so yeah, I don't think it'll be as high as that for the Switch OLED, but I do think because it's Nintendo, they don't want to use the highest quality screens. But I do think it'll be at least pretty good. So there are the same kind of triggers that are on like an Xbox. So there's the R1, R2, L1, and L2 triggers. So it has that same kind of feel, or like the Switch basically. And on the top of the Steam Deck, there is a volume up and volume down button, a headphone jack to the right of it, a fan hole area, like a grill kind of, and
A vent.
a vent. That's a better word for it. And there is actually a Type-C port, a USB Type-C port at the top of it, but there isn't one at the bottom. So the Switch had one at the bottom, and this one has one at the top, which I do think
go
better
ahead, sir.
for. Oh, okay. Well, I think it's better for like gaming and stuff because you don't want the cord underneath you, right?
Yeah, that is honestly a really good point because I can't tell you how many times I'm charging it and then I just get so pissed because I'm like already losing in a game or something like that, and then I just fucking yank the cord out because it's like in my face.
Wait,
Yeah.
is there a kickstand on this?
There is no kickstand.
What?
I don't know why
Yeah,
there would
okay.
be, because you can't
You
like
can't take off
detach
the
the
Joy-Cons.
controllers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have multiplayer capability as far as I'm
It
I
does.
mean, what you could do is that you could have either an external controller or a keyboard and mouse.
You
like a really
can
small
actually
one.
connect those via USB or Bluetooth. So you
Oh
can
yeah,
connect
and then
other
if it did
controllers
have a stand
or headphones, like Nintendo
Yeah.
doesn't allow headphones,
Bluetooth
but
headphones.
yeah,
Great.
you can allow Bluetooth headphones.
well, they do, but only through the
Well,
aux cord.
adapter.
Yeah. And there's a status LED light, and there is a power button. And then you can, if you want to, the USB port supports 45-watt charging, which is, and then it can dock and support up to 8K at 60 hertz or 4K at 120 hertz, along, which is pretty cool. So if you have that kind of cord, which I'm sure will come in a box, then you can.
You said dock? It can dock?
Yeah, there will be a dock, but it isn't included, and it's coming out later on. And the
Wait. So, like, is it going? Wait, if there's a dock, does that mean that you put it in the dock, then you have it? Because you can't like take those controllers out, so you need like a separate controller,
Usually
and then
no keyboard or something.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then you would have like a computer screen. That's
Mhm.
cool. Then that's basically just a PC.
Well, here's
Really, yeah,
the dock is honestly my biggest pet peeve about this entire thing.
yeah.
What's
Are you
up?
talking about?
Just like so, it's going to be running what, like 1200 by 700 resolution.
800.
Okay, 800. Yeah. So like, if you think about it, and that's going to be running at like maximum. Let's say maximum 60 FPS. Okay, this sounds like a baseline maximum. I just don't think it's going to be like, I don't think it's be like an option to run to 1080p at 60 FPS on this device. I'd say like you'll get if you get 30 if you dock it, honestly.
Yeah.
Because 1080p is a lot more graphically intensive on everything. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, that's true. Which is kind of weird because it does allow you to do 8K at 60 hertz.
Exactly.
So you're like, how? So you must figure that they think it could do that, at least like doing like, I don't know, Office or something.
What I think if they're gonna do is they're claiming that you guys know what Steam Remote Play is.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think what's gonna happen is that 8K at 60 hertz is gonna be only available through Remote Play from a higher power PC, streaming over the internet. That's gonna be the only way to do it.
That would make sense.
Because the dock
Yeah,
has
that
an
makes a lot
Ethernet
of
port
sense.
attached to it, so it could technically support up to 8K, but it's just
Well-
not possible on the device.
Here's the thing, though: people that are going to be buying this are buying this because, I mean, at least from my perspective, take it like from somebody like me. The reason I want to get it is because it's basically what I have. Like, it's a Switch, but it's basically like a PC, and it isn't me putting $1,000 into something. It's only
Yeah,
like
of course.
what, like 400? How much is it?
For the lowest
Yeah,
one,
it's
400.
Yeah, so like I would say that if somebody's gonna get that in the first place, they I don't think they'll really care that much about like its graphics if it's
Well,
in
yeah, of
dock
course.
mode.
For sure. That's a really good point. I just like personally, like I just don't see it performing at 1080p.
Yeah, it's a very like it's
Are they promising that?
No.
They don't promise. They just say it can support up to 8K at 60 hertz, which doesn't necessarily mean that it will like perform that way, but it will support that.
What they're claiming that is just DisplayPort over USB-C's capabilities. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Mm.
But they did show in promos for it. They didn't specify a resolution or anything, but they did show people playing games on it when it is docked to monitor.
Okay.
So the dock's coming out later then, huh?
Yeah, the dock is coming out later, but if you do have a USB-C cord that is capable of supporting that power output and DisplayPort or whatever, then you can put that to a monitor or TV, which is cool. So you don't need a dock. I know that the Switch requires you to have a dock because they have this weird power method or something, and if you don't have the right
you
kind
could
of dock,
fry
it
your
will
Switch.
brick it. Yeah, but
So
this
janky,
is
though.
Why would they do that? That is so mean. Like, use the right thing or we'll kill your Switch.
I watched
Well, I
a
mean,
video.
they also had Joy-Cons, so I mean, Joy-Con drift. So I mean, really,
Yeah.
Oh, don't get us started on
They-
that. Jesus.
they
Yeah,
hate their
We could do an
consumers.
entire episode about that.
Seriously,
Um,
Nintendo is just they are funny people. They love dishing out pain to their most
You know,
loving
I
customers.
read an article about Joy-Con drift the other day, and it said like on the production note for the Joy-Cons themselves, it said recommend you upgrade to a new sensor. I can do a joystick altogether because this one's outdated and not going to perform any cycles. Like Nintendo knew full well it wasn't going to work like it should.
But they did it anyway.
But they did it anyways. Yeah, exactly. They did it anyways.
They did it because they wanted to release it on time, probably.
But on top of that, they're still producing brand new Joy-Cons with the same technology that's been broken over and over and over again.
But here's
yeah,
the
they've
thing.
had time to figure it out.
No.
Sometimes
You
years.
guys don't understand though. Like, it's and they know this. They absolutely know this. But they can't.
Oh wait, are you saying that if
they
they
can't-
release a new Joy-Con, then they'll have to like acknowledge?
Yes.
Joy-Con drift?
Yes.
I mean,
because
but-
if they do, then they have to then they would have to then give everyone the new Joy-Con because they'd be acknowledging the fact that the other one was broken. And that is more expensive than a couple people just suing them.
Here's the thing about it. They already offer free repair for any Joy-Con that has Joy-Con drift. They offer that for just through Nintendo themselves, right?
But it takes
But-
forever.
Exactly. But if you're like me, you're not going to wait around for them to fix it. You're going to either fix it yourself or you're going to buy a new set of Joy-Cons. It's like $60. So they're making money off their oversight.
Yeah, which is
I mean-
actually
Go ahead, sorry.
okay. Well, I was gonna say that I had to repair both of my Joy-Cons, and I bought a kit that like had all the necessary tools and the joysticks for like $5 on Amazon. And I don't know how long that's gonna last, but I am assuming that it will last at least longer than the regular Joy-Cons this joysticks did. But it isn't that expensive, especially for Nintendo, the people who probably have like millions of these joysticks in their factory or something, like able to replace it.
You're coming at this with the logic that Nintendo wants to fix this issue. They recognize that it's an issue,
Yeah.
but they absolutely will not fix it. And it's 100% understandable why not, but it's infuriating why not. And at the same time, I'm just going to say, I've had, sure, they may have messed up with their Joy-Cons, but their Pro Controllers are, absolutely top tier. I've dropped my Pro Controller, 1,500 times. I've thrown it, 30 times out of rage at Smash Bros. It has never broken on me. It has never malfunctioned at all. And I have, had 3 sets of Joy-Cons. They all broke for, no reason. And so, I'm just sticking with Pro Controllers because they make those good. So I'm gonna say for anybody that is having issues with those, really just get a Pro Controller. I mean, it sucks for on the go, but if you only save your Joy-Cons for when you're going somewhere and you actually because you're probably gonna be using it for long car trips or something like that. If you don't
True.
use them regularly, then it's less of a chance that they'll break.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But I would say though that okay, so I think that they do have to have a reason to make their Pro Controllers good, because it's mainly used for tournaments and stuff and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And they can't.
Although they refuse to acknowledge that the tournaments even exist.
Yep.
Okay, wait. So it's actually kind of cool because the way I'm gonna present Valve, at least, they're gonna kind of seem like an anti, not because they're gonna have a completely different philosophy of how to do things.
At
Which
this
I'll
point,
get
that's a
into.
good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get into later, especially with the software. So I talked about the front and the top of the Steam Deck. The back of it doesn't have much, but it does have 4 buttons, and these are their auxiliary buttons, and basically they're I think of the Switch. The Switch Elite controller, you know how they have those buttons on the back near the grips and stuff?
Right. The turbo buttons.
Yeah, it's the same thing, basically.
What is that stuff for, anyways? The only thing I could get out of it was if I wanted extra buttons if I'm playing a ROM.
Yeah, well, you're supposed to be able to program them to your specific needs. So some games it may be pretty good to, I guess, hotkey it and stuff.
I guess so. I mean, I think that'd be
Yeah.
most useful for Smash Bros. But I haven't actually heard of anybody using those turbo buttons in the back for anything like text.
There's a reason they're on the Elite controller, and they might be good for fighting games and stuff. And there's also a heatsink grill or whatever, the vent. Sorry, Carter. And on the bottom of the deck, there is a SD card slot, and that's the only thing on the bottom. I'm pretty sure. So it's a pretty good layout. It's pretty much everything we've seen, except the joysticks are a little high, and there are the touchpads. But overall, I think it's going to be cool to try at least.
I mean, it's just weird though, because I mean, I kind of agree with you, Carter. Though I feel like they like look, the controller is like, let's say like divided into 3 segments. The buttons on the controller only take up like 1/3 of the controller itself. It's just kind of jarring.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely not normal, and I am a little hesitant because the Steam controller, it had a bad reputation. Yeah, but they did have experience with their VR headset. What's that called? The
Index.
Oh.
Index, the Valve Index. Yeah, and I heard that the controllers were pretty good on that, right? So.
Yeah,
I
mean, you're close. I mean, what? No, I have a Vive.
Oh, okay.
The Vive was basically sponsored by Valve, but I will give Valve props because this device looks amazing.
It does. It really looks. I like, especially from like the top and side or back. I mean, it looks really nice.
Fancy.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
I do have another gripe now that I've seen the back though, is that
I didn't wait. How do you look at the back?
Thing.
It's in that video I sent.
You play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Where your hand goes, they made that like a completely vertical, like.
Gripping thing or whatever.
Yeah, like the grip. Yeah, how they designed the grip. It's completely vertical, which isn't necessarily bad. I mean, the Switch was completely flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
But I don't think that's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be optimal for like long-term use.
Really? Because I thought that the way it had the grip, at least, it's a deep, like, you're able to grip onto it really well, which is necessary for like using it a long time so it doesn't slip out of your hands or anything.
I mean, it looks nice, but I think the one thing, like, I kind of agree with you, Carter. The back looks kind of weird because I feel like if I was playing on that for like an hour or two, I'd get like hand cramps.
Yeah, that's because the bones in your wrist. The bones in your wrist, whenever your hand is lying completely straight down or completely sideways like that, their bones in your wrist cross like an X, and that's not good when they do that. And so you're doing that, just playing like that for a long time, probably will hurt.
So Nintendo has drift, and Valve has fucking like arthritis.
I mean, the Switch isn't any better because it's the same grip, but just worse because there's no hand support whatsoever.
Again, yeah man, that's go for the Pro Controller.
Go ahead, Zane.
So on the back of the Steam Deck, is that in the bottom right-hand corner a heatsink, like the exhaust?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be kind of hot or like a longer gaming session for on your right hander? Like, wouldn't that like maybe a little too hot?
Well, they're
far enough away.
I mean, maybe your finger.
They're marketing it as a portable heater, so you could warm up and stuff if you want to.
Wait, so
probably will.
Wait, so it is going to be that hot then? Because I would say if we're going to compare it to the Switch, I'd say the
Switch does get pretty hot, and that like the hardware, it's like I think it uses less power, but I'm not exactly sure. I expect it to.
But sometimes you can freaking hear it go like you fucking hear that shit.
Yeah, I'll get into the hardware soon. But before I do that, so the Steam Deck weighs 669 grams, which is almost double what the Switch weighs. Yes. So it's almost double what the Switch weighs. So just imagine what the Switch weighs and like try and double that in your hands. And that's
I want to see like them in like I don't know, like the lab that they made this or whatever. They like are adding the grams. They're like just about all right.
Yes.
I mean,
They did-
but minor variations in the manufacturing thing might actually make it be off by 1 or 2
No,
grams.
I'm gonna send my Steam Deck back if it's not 660.
You better wait when you get it.
Yeah. You could do like weight gate, like you know how there's like gates for things, it'd be called weight gate, and it's like turns out the Valve Steam Deck isn't actually 669 grams. We've been lied to.
Public is in outrage. People
So
are rioting in the
obviously,
streets.
obviously this will create some like more of a fatigue in your hands than the Switch will because it weighs almost double. But I do like you were wondering, Carter. I do hear that the grips are pretty good, like comfortable, and they are able. It makes you able to hold it well. And for like I mentioned before, for dock users, Valve does plan on releasing one, but they didn't name a name or price or a date or price. But
It's gonna have to be upside down.
Well, no, it isn't that way actually. It's like a weird dock because I don't know if it holds in. I don't know if it sits in the dock itself, but it's just a cable that links to a basically USB-C hub where it has a display port and HDMI and stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
The dock does it pretty weird.
it does. Yeah. So let's get into the specs
Wait,
now.
send a picture of the dock because I want to see it.
I cannot find one, but can you guys find one of them and
I
send
will
it to the
find
group
one.
chat? Okay, so we are going to be finding out if this is powerful enough to run AAA games at a decent performance. So the processor is an AMD APU. For those who don't know, an APU is a combined CPU and GPU. While this does not allow Valve to put a huge GPU in the device for extra performance, like a what's it called? Not like the not integrated GPU, but the other thing.
Dedicated.
Dedicated, yes.
Dedicated
It isn't that. It isn't that. But it does mean that the CPU and GPU are tightly integrated. Since they'll be right next to each other, it'll have faster bandwidth than the traditional setup. So the M1 chip is like the best example of this. That with the M1 chip is from Apple. It uses a system of a chip, I guess, design or something, which means that the RAM, the CPU, the GPU, it's all together on one chip. And so that'll ensure great performance. So the CPU is a Zen 2 architecture 4-core 8-thread counts processor that runs at 2.4 to 3.5 gigahertz with up to 448 gigaflops. Now, Qate, can you please explain what that means?
What'd you say? You need explain clock speed?
Can you repeat that?
What'd you say exactly?
It had a 2.4 to... Okay, wait. It has a Zen 2 architecture of an AMD chip, and it has a 4-core 8-thread counts processor that runs at 2.4 3.5 gigahertz with up to 448 gigaflops.
Oh, gigaflops.
Hey, Qate, what does that mean, Qate?
What does that mean? Explain it. Explain what I just said. Explain the processor.
I am a dummy. I don't know.
Explain it!
I'm sorry.
Okay, then I'll explain it.
This show is like the last place I should be.
Okay, so can you explain what our architecture is, Carter, and I'll go from there.
Like yes, Carter, educate me.
Architecture. An architecture is basically the foundation of what the computer chip, I guess, is built on. Like 7 nanometer means that there are 7 nanometers. It's a measurement of silicon inside the chip, and that determines the speed and efficiency of everything that is on the chip. And then they program their firmware and software to go around that, which makes the entirety of the architecture.
Yes, so this is a custom AMD chip, and it does have a Zen 2 architecture, which is from last year, right? But there is a Zen 3 architecture, and people are wondering why Valve didn't use that. But I do think that I did read it on reading an article. It did say that like Zen 2 versus Zen 3 doesn't really matter, at least for like this kind of setup. And Carter, you told me that single core is better than multi-core, at least for gaming, right?
For most games, at least used to be. Most a lot of the AAA games nowadays are trying to integrate multi-thread and multi-core processing. But most like indie games definitely are mostly going to be better on single-thread performance.
Yeah, so I do think that maybe the Zen 2 versus Zen 3 doesn't matter that much. It does have 4 cores, which usually AMD chips have like more than that. Intel is usually what has 4 cores, and a core is like I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to sound stupid, but a core is like. Can you explain what a core is? I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, so a core is just basically its own CPU. A CPU and its number of cores is just how many of those 7 or so nanometer chips are on a bigger chip. So a 6 core would have 6 7 nanometer chips on a bigger CPU chip.
Damn, Carter, you know exactly what you're talking about.
Not really. A
do.
lot of it's bull.
Impressive.
I mean, you could have answered more than I could. I'll say that.
Yeah. And of those 4 cores, I guess they each have 2 cores because there's an 8-thread count, not cores. They have 8 threads, or 2 apiece. And I'm pretty sure threads are like.
I found it.
What'd you find?
I found the doc. It's not like an actual picture, but it's like a kind of like here. I'll.
It's like the schematic thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put 2 pictures in the guest chat.
Oh, you can put it in the general.
I don't have access.
Yeah, if you want to. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll add you to that.
Okay, wait. Okay, so Zach. So this is just a Ryzen 3 3200G processor. For reference, my laptop has a Ryzen 7 integrated GPU. I forget what it is. It's a Ryzen 7 30 something.
Yeah. Okay, so nice. I do think though that obviously the GPU is better though in this case. So like I said, it has a 2.4 3600.
No, 3800.
3800.
No, it's not. 3700. It's a Ryzen 7 3600G, which is 8 cores.
8 cores, okay. Yeah, so it's obviously
twice as fast as that.
Yeah, but even though it isn't, that might not be the worst thing necessarily because they don't want it to use too much energy. And I think the GPU mainly matters for gaming, right? So
let's talk about that. Let's talk about something that I can actually understand. What's the battery life?
Okay, yeah. So let me see. So the battery life is a 40 watt-hour battery. Valve says that we can expect 2 to 8 hours of gameplay. In a video where developers
That's
are...
a big variation. What the hell do they mean by that? Like Terraria to like Call of Duty?
Yeah,
basically, yeah. So in an interview that I watched, in an interview where I watched of a Valve employee, he says that the max settings on Portal 2 can be played for at least 4 hours. And it does have 2 less hours than the Switch, but it is like, the hardware is...
I thought the Switch was 2 hours.
No, the Switch is like 4 to 10, right? 4 to 10 hours?
I think it is 4 to 10, yeah.
Huh.
Mine lasts a while.
Yeah. Well, you have an old Switch, don't you? So the battery could have drained a lot.
No, mine's actually a newer one. The first one I had I got it. The first one I had got like my brother and sister broke it.
You got dead.
Yeah, I got dead.
Okay, well go ahead.
Well, your mom.
No, I'm good. I don't have anything to say.
Okay, yeah. So let's actually move on to the GPU now. Ooh. So the GPU has 8 RDNA computing units. RDNA is AMD's GPU architecture, and it runs at 1 to 1.6 gigahertz for up to 1.6 teraflops. So all in all, this draws 4 to 5.
So many flops.
All in all, this draws 4 to 15 watts of power, and the RAM is 16 gigabyte LPDDR5. I'm gonna pretend like I know what LPDDR5 means. That's shared between both the CPU and GPU. Because of its 32-bit channel that the RAM has, it allows up to 88 gigabytes per second of bandwidth, which is actually more than the PS5 or Xbox Series X. But that is because the CPU and GPU are integrated in the thing. But just know that's pretty fast.
So wait, I'm not exactly going to pretend to know that I know what that means, but I just want to know what the difference is. So when you say that it's integrated, why wouldn't it be on a console that's made to be like a home console like the Xbox or the PS5?
Because it's just cheaper for Xbox, like Microsoft and Sony, to get their own dedicated GPU. Because
So
And
then-
on top of that, it's also in a console. You don't have to worry about power draw whatsoever. And APUs are more efficient than a CPU and GPU combo.
that's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And
And-
do
and
you
it,
need
like-
a simple explanation of what bandwidth is?
Yes.
Okay, bandwidth is basically just how fast any parts of the computer can communicate with each other.
Oh, cool.
And
All right.
since the GPU and CPU are inside each other, that is almost instantaneous.
Sweet.
Yeah, there are some there are quite a bit of actually like advantages of having integrated. And if you're wondering if I know that some of I don't even understand what most of this means, but if you're wondering, like, there's kind of a debate around like, is this capable of playing AAA games at like 30 FPS? And according to this article from Tom's Hardware, they say yes. They say that it's only a 800 it's only 1280 by 800 resolution, and even though it doesn't compare to some GPUs that are from like several years ago, it should be able to play most of current AAA games at least 30 FPS.
I do believe that. Maybe definitely not max settings, but I do believe that.
Yeah, probably like medium to low settings.
Actually,
So
I think medium would be good still.
Yeah, I think medium's going to be the hitting point for this, honestly.
Yeah, and it's like you're gonna be playing it at a low resolution too because of display, so it's not gonna take a ton up. And I mean, you even like in the promo video that they showed, they said it was using real hardware, and they showed Control being played, which is a pretty intense game graphically, and they showed Star Wars Fallen Order being played on this. So I do think it is capable. And there are some competitors to this. I'm gonna name the Switch last, but there's the Aya Neo, which uses a 6-core, 6-thread Ryzen 5 4500U APU. There's the GPD Win 3, which uses an i7 1100 series, which has 4 cores, 8 threads. And there's the One X player, which uses the i7 1100 series or 11000 series, and has a So in comparison to at least Intel chips, AMD's like better, right? Because it's efficient and stuff like that, and it uses power. So I feel like that was a good choice for that. But I do think it is capable, at least, especially compared to competitors too, because it's kind of unfair. But since Valve is such a big company, they are capable of producing something like this at this price. But there are also good odds, like I said earlier, that they're actually losing money because of this. And I'll actually explain why. I'm going to explain how they're going to make that money up, basically. But because they're selling it at such a cheap price, like all this hardware, this really good hardware size, they are losing money, at least at the lowest tier. So, at least for the software, it's running a new Steam, the new version of SteamOS, which is pretty cool. And SteamOS itself is based off of Linux, or it is like Linux, basically. I don't know how to explain it.
It's a Linux distro.
Yeah. So even though it is Linux, it can still run Windows games, and you might be thinking like, I didn't know there's a difference between running Windows games. But you also might be thinking like, oh, how are they doing that? It's because they're using Proton, which is a compatibility layer that makes it possible to run Windows games natively. And
why not Wine?
I did read something about Wine, but I'm not sure. I don't think they're using that. They may be using a combination of things. Valve says that they themselves have been making some pretty big changes to this to Proton, so it will have like a polished experience. But there is a small issue with anti-cheat, because for some reason anti-cheat games can't run on Proton, but Valve says they're working directly with anti-cheat companies to fix it.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, if Valve is losing money on this, I'm assuming they're making it back in some way, kind of like the same way Microsoft is losing money on Xbox. So
they're making it back with the people buying their games.
right, okay. And do you think also in some sort of way publicity as well?
Yeah, for sure. Because this is big. I mean, this is pretty much as big as Nintendo announcing their first Switch. And I do think that they're gonna be taking at least a part of Nintendo's fans off. Like they're gonna be
Nah.
taking. You don't think so?
No, I mean, look. So, like I said before, like look at me. I'm a Nintendo fan. I'm
Yeah.
not going to stop playing those games just because I get one. In fact, I'm going to be playing both. They don't have the games that Nintendo has on the on what is this called again? The Steam Deck.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like the Switch doesn't have games on it, to be fair, that are on the Steam Deck, which is the point to why I'm buying it. So I don't think that they necessarily need to compete. And I think, yeah, and like not to say that maybe they are, maybe I'm wrong, but it just doesn't seem that way to me because I mean, it's trying to kind of like compare two things that really just aren't that similar. I mean, they are similar in only one way in that they're portable, but at the same time, they have like an entirely different or mainly different library from each other, and I feel like they aimed at different demographics as well. And if you could argue that it might draw away like maybe like older audiences, but then like, well, look at me, I'm part of the older audience, and I'd rather just have both than just stop playing Nintendo games just because I would get one of these.
Oh well, okay. So first
I
of
was very
all,
passionate.
she's very passionate about that kind of thing. But I do gotta say that so when I said that it was gonna take off, it was gonna like take out Nintendo fans in exchange for this. I meant in a way that it's gonna like you said, they're gonna have both of them, because I don't think Valve's goal, at least to I think they want to get bigger in the handheld. I think that they'll have to in order to access like a bigger percentage and stuff. But I also think that their main goal, because Nintendo and Valve, they're not. You're right. The only thing that they're intersecting is in the handheld market. So I think that really all Valve needs to do is get people to buy this, even if they are Nintendo fans. In that way, people could buy games using Steam. Because it's not like. And you're right.
I think this is marketed towards Nintendo fans. I mean, like specifically towards them, because they're the ones that would be buying the cheaper consoles in the first place, and the ones that would be portable in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of helps in a way, because basically Nintendo games will not be on the Valve, and most computer games that are on the Steam Deck will not be on Nintendo. So really, it's just like it's like having an Xbox and a PlayStation, and having the PlayStation to play PlayStation games and the Xbox to play Xbox games.
Yep. Which is honestly genius.
I think Valve has one, maybe possibly just even like side effect that they're gonna have, is that people like that usually like consoles better are gonna get this, and then they might get into PC gaming after that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Who knows? That could be the focus, because
I don't know.
What Valve's basically trying to do, I would say their biggest objective is just get more people on Steam, because that's how they're going to make their money back.
Well, I mean, getting people on Steam. Let's say Carter's like what Carter speculates is true, and they're somehow leading people to PC gaming. Well, this is already marketed towards people that are less willing to get something that's expensive already, right? I mean, Nintendo fans. That's what we're assuming. Now, if that's the case, then they're probably not going to get a PC for the same reason that they're getting it in the first place. Now, technically, this is PC gaming because it has the vast majority of, like Steam's like whole library on it. So it's basically a PC, but with a controller already hooked up to it, which is like fair enough. That is PC gaming. I will say, yeah. But the only reason why they would want to get a PC, like if they wanted to like upgrade, is if they wanted to spend that like $1,000 or more on like graphics and like
but now you don't have
talked about.
So
Yeah, you
people
don't
who
have
are
to spend
in
that much.
space, they don't have to spend that much. And also, I was going to bring up a point. So let's say you were wanting to get a handheld, right? So it's like, oh yeah, I mean the Switch and the this are basically the same price. So like, would I either get this or would I get the Switch? And I feel like this is a better pick than the Switch, unless you're like, unless you wanted to play Nintendo games.
Yeah, see, that's where they get you because you're right there. Yes, that's true. I mean, I think if we're gonna like bring up that same argument where it's like, well, what's new? Well, they're both around the same price. Might as well get the better one, right? Well, that makes sense, but that also kind of is hard to say because, well, they're different demographics. I mean, sure, there's going to be like adults that are playing Nintendo games, but those adults more than likely will want to spend money to have both than just get one or the other. And if we're talking about like families or kids, they're more likely going to get the Nintendo system. And if we're talking about like the adults, maybe they're more likely to get the Steam Deck based on like whether or not they're nostalgic for like the Switch or whatever. But more than likely they'll get the Switch at one point if they don't already have it. So I just don't see that as like an either or, you know, because they're not like advertising to a younger audience with the Steam Deck. I mean, it doesn't look like a very childish system. It's pretty like sleek and like, I mean, it looks nice, but it looks like it's for like adults.
I see what you mean. But either way, this is definitely gonna bring it's bringing the gaming PC market to people, basically to the mainstream,
which I appreciate.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to, you can completely wipe off SteamOS and use it as a PC with Windows on it. And Valve is actually allowing the SteamOS to be open source for developers. So they said specifically that if any other kind of company wanted to make the same machine, they could, and they could use Valve software, which is
that
really,
is
really
extremely
cool.
Nice.
This is something that Nintendo would never do.
No. Nintendo would never do this. And here's the other thing too. I think that they're doing this because you know we talked about this on the other like on one of the other podcasts we were doing. Not podcast, one of the other episodes we were doing. And we were saying like how, or you were saying how you were pissed because people like Apple weren't allowing people to like mess with their phones, right? Maybe this is kind of like their way of saying like we will allow people to do whatever they want because it's their thing once they buy it.
Exactly, and that's really rare with other companies because basically, if you buy something like a Switch or iPhone, it isn't yours technically. Like,
yeah,
they still
publicity.
own everything on it. They could block everything on it if they wanted to. They could brick your entire device. But this thing, no, this is all yours, which is amazing. I feel like it's a really good step.
That could mean that if people wanted to, they could make this run like ROMs. So you could like have this play like GameCube games. I'm sure that it would be able to run them.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, definitely. You
that
can
is hype, dude. You could fucking play Melee on this shit. I would love that.
Yeah, you don't even have to remove like SteamOS. You could keep that on there and run those kind of games.
Or hear me out. You install a Switch emulator and play Switch games.
Oh yeah, turn into a Switch.
My God!
But it
just
like
becomes
runs better.
The Switch.
Yeah, it just runs better than a Switch 2 also though.
Dude, I would totally ditch my Switch if I could just play. Like just hashtag ditch the Switch.
I mean,
and you just like you just have all the Switch and all its games on there. I would love that.
I mean, technically, if you already own the games on the Switch, you can put those games on an SD card, right? And run those in an emulator without any legal repercussions, because you technically own the game.
Yeah, that's true.
So that'd be a huge avenue for this device.
Is there a Switch emulator so far?
Yeah, there's a really good one actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
On computer?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Really? Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'll put a link to it in the chat because it's actually really cool.
Yeah, do that.
So, you were wrong, Qate. This is actually a Switch and PC combo. Actually,
I mean, I would honestly, like I said, I would totally like ditch the Switch because I love Nintendo, but only because of the hardware and the games. Like, I really hate them as a company. So if somebody just gave me Nintendo without the assholiness then I would totally take that.
Yeah.
Also-
This is.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you could go ahead.
I just want to let you know that both of these, there's two big emulators for Switch right now. Both of them are open source. That's pretty cool if you ask me. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people can like look at the coding of that if they wanted to, then, right?
And improve it. So you could have an entirely open source system with like. Yeah, that's awesome.
imagine-
The only difference is Rygynx is written in C# and the other one's written in C++. That's the only difference.
How dare they? I
Wait,
don't
so
know
like,
either.
imagine though that in the future we have like some sort of utopian gamer society where all of our games are open source and you can play any game you want on like a single device, like something equivalent to like a PC, but like I don't know, like maybe it's like a Switch and a PC where it's like if you want to
I
play
mean, this
docs,
would
you
be
could.
it though, because this has
That's
really
what I'm
capable
saying.
hardware. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I mean the only thing stopping this is like kind of the idea that like companies want to make the most money possible and they want to capitalism, and they want I really didn't want to say that because if it was gonna be said, I didn't want to be the first one.
Yeah. Capitalism. There. Now you're so good.
Yeah, but I will say that like that's not going to happen as long as we have this kind of like toxic sort of system where people want control, so they just kind of form these separate monopolies. But like if we just had like one game system with everything on it, that would like solve 90% of our issues that we have
As
with the gaming
world,
industry.
Yeah.
No,
No.
the world. You're thinking small. The world.
Yeah.
The world.
Like,
We solve
90
hunger.
Yeah.
we literally just barely got cross-platform play. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
to be like
ridiculous.
normalized. To be normalized. Like, that's such a crazy thing that used to be.
It's
that
not
used to be a
even.
possibility, right?
It's not even entirely normalized because
Exactly.
you can't do that with the PlayStation. They still are fucking little stingy bastards.
Yeah.
What if Valve like went to like these impoverished like villages and stuff, and instead of giving them food, they gave them Valve
They got the
Index.
fucking new system. They got a little child with a distended belly just like
Yeah.
dying, and you just like set it there in front of him. You're welcome, my child.
It's kind of all
You're
the answers
saved.
you need.
Yeah.
The child
so-
like buffs up and like, my gamer power has been restored.
I mean, you've seen those like gaming PC memes where the guy's a god or something.
Yeah.
PC gamer. Versus
You see
the,
that, but nobody's gonna want to do that. The reason that people want to stick with like their own systems is because then we have like the PC gamers. Like this isn't every PC gamer, because I honestly think PC gaming is probably the best.
This is gonna be a hybrid though. This is gonna be a
No,
weird
yeah.
hybrid. of PC
Yeah.
gaming
But what I'm
with,
saying is like what kind of stunting that growth, at least in the public, why people don't demand this more, is because one, nostalgia, and two, people are like you know, you see those PC gamers. There's gamers that are like, PC Master Race, it's the best, and it's just like it totally turns you off to that idea. You don't want to be a part of anywhere near them because it's just so like.
Well, now they have like the golden child. Like think of a PC gamer as like a child. Like he was the firstborn child, and he was like, you know, he was treated pretty well. But then here comes the golden child, which is this thing, and they can't they can't ignore it, you know. And it's going to be better in every way. And that kind of leads me to where I was going. So I think that this is a huge step, like just as for the gaming industry as a whole, because for one, this did what Nintendo like wasn't doing, I guess, and introducing Nintendon't. Yeah, Valve does what Nintendo, and they were introducing really powerful hardware in a portable, which is great. It like further pushes technology into you know, and also it's like their open source like thing. It's like it's amazing because like we talked about, you can run anything on it. You can run emulators. I mean, yeah. So basically, it's like it's an all-in-one machine. It's everything that we've been looking for.
Do you think if they were given a chance, like say this doesn't come out, say like Valve is completely like Thanos stacked, right? Who is the second person, like the second major company to come out with a portable system? Do you like, you know, besides Nintendo, obviously, like, do you think Do you think Xbox or PlayStation would have done it? Or do you think like somebody like Elon Musk would have come out with his own
would say
system?
Amazon
That's a hard question.
honestly would have.
Oh, yeah, that is a good
Honestly.
point because Amazon's trying to like monopolize pretty much everything.
They're trying
They
to get into
are,
the gaming
yeah.
industry also. I don't know if you've seen it, but they developed their own gaming engine.
Did
It's
they?
actually
Yeah.
impressive, but in no way it compares to like a Unreal Engine in no way, but like it's still really good, like a bare bones engine.
Yeah, so I mean that's mainly what Jeffrey does to get into markets. Is just like throws a shit ton of money at it, and he's like, hey, smartest people in the world, make this.
Figure this out.
CEO entrepreneur.
I was thinking about that, and I
born in
didn't even consider like
1964.
a corporation. I considered like PlayStation or Xbox, but I don't know how PlayStation would do because they have their Vita lineup, and that kind of died.
Yeah.
And then Xbox isn't really into the handheld market,
But they
I do
put
imagine-
bullshit games on that. Like all of their games were fucking like side games. Like they were nasty.
That
Like
brings a good-
you see Nintendo, they got like look, let's go before like the fucking Switch came in. Let's look at like the DS, right? The DS was the Wii was fucking horrible. the DS.
The DS was even worse. It had a horrible hardware, but it was good for.
No. Listen, it wasn't. The hardware was bad, of course.
It was bad, but it had good games.
Exactly, it had fucking Pokemon on it. It had full ass Mario on it. You wanted that because it had full ass fucking games on it. It didn't have fucking like, I don't know, like fucking cards or some fucking. It doesn't have like. It does have Tetris on it. It has every fucking game in the world on it because everybody wanted a piece of that.
People, and Nintendon't.
But see, that's what Nintendo is. That's what Nintendo was doing. That was so smart compared to like somebody like PlayStation or like Sony. Because when they made the Vita, I mean, it's genuinely a good system. I mean, it looks
really
nice.
Powerful. Like,
it feels nice. It's got a good OS and everything, but the games are dog shit. That's just like it's all about the games, and I think that like Nintendo kind of realized that formula in a sense a lot faster than the other companies did, which is why they were like the biggest company or at least the first company, and that's why they survived for so long. I mean, Xbox and PlayStation, they have some good ass games under their belt. Like they got like God of War, they got Demon Souls and like Bloodborne and Halo.
You're mentioning PlayStation mainly.
Okay, but you get my point. I mean, that's a whole another issue. But they have good games, which is it's fine. But they focus a lot more on the graphics of those games and the hardware than Nintendo does.
Like stylize it. When Nintendo stylizes it, so you don't have to use too much hardware. Because if it's stylized, then what matters? Like, it wouldn't matter if it was super realistic stylized.
And here's the thing. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when it comes to home consoles. Like, either way works pretty well. But guess what? Guess which system it works on best? The one that has limitations in the first place. A handheld console. So that's why Nintendo works so well with handheld consoles, because they already had a sort of a recipe that worked, and it was so easily adaptable for something like that it just works for them compared to like, I mean, like I said, PS Vita, that's a really good example. Just it was a good system. I mean, it was better in every way almost compared to the 3DS. Which was around the same time. But I'm just going to reiterate, had dog shit games.
Yeah.
So back to the topic of like if Valve wasn't around. Have you guys heard of the Microsoft Backbone?
No. What's that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so this poor device, has not gotten any of the press I think it should. It was announced and launched last week for the Xbox. It's called the Xbox Backbone 1. Basically, it is a attachable controller for your iPhone that can stream games from your Xbox console with really low latency and promises good performance. And it comes with 3 months of Xbox Game Multiple too.
Can you have this from like anywhere?
What do you mean?
Like, can you do this from anywhere?
Yeah.
Like, can you stream from anywhere? Like, the latency stays the same?
Apparently, according to their testing, I've been reading a lot into because I want to get one. You can play from anywhere with a decent internet connection. Like
I mean,
if you have like a 5G enabled phone, you're golden.
that probably you're right. That probably is where we would head with mobile gaming. I mean, that's
Oh
kind
yeah,
of where mobile gaming was headed anyways. Because they had all those controllers that were able to attach, and then people were playing like Fortnite and all those like
Yeah.
serious games on there. And I would say that like you're right. If we didn't have Valve, I think that there would be like two kinds of portable consoles, the ones that like stream from Xbox and PlayStation, which is
Yes.
I think you're completely right with that. Like that's exactly what they would do. And then you would have like Nintendo who actually just makes portable consoles.
Like I kind of feel
yeah.
bad for them because like they announced it and launched it, during the Nintendo OLED during the Steam Deck launch. Like it was a horrible time PR wise. Like it's decent tech, really.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I wanted to. I just remembered something. So you know how it's called the Steam Deck, right? Well, at the same time, Elgato, which is like a company that makes like video, it makes hardware where people can like record their gameplay and stuff. They made something called the Steam Deck or Stream Deck, not Steam Deck, Stream Deck, and they were announced on the same day, the Steam Deck and the Stream Deck from Elgato.
Oof.
That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing that they're different.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up a point of contingency though before I ended this because I felt like we kind of covered it pretty well. Okay, so the way that Nintendo's like, they're dominating the handheld right now, and they've always had like the biggest handheld devices, the consoles. And whenever you're talking about the Vita, I realized that like it's really hard to make games for other handheld just because they usually have some kind of niche that makes it to where you have to like develop like extra stuff. You know how the DS had the bottom screen, so you had to make for that, and the
they have
Vita,
like that. It's like a gimmick.
Yeah, the Vita had the back was touchscreen or whatever of the back. It was is capacitive, so it's like you can't really like. And this is what I've seen from a lot of games. Like, Vita was around. They would either develop game. It would be rare where. So I mean, Nintendo's like big in that market too. So they have all the capability to get developers to start making games for Switch. But what Steam?
I thought though. Oh.
What Valve does for the Steam Deck though is pretty genius because I didn't realize this until recently, but it's genius how they make it to where obviously like your Steam library is added. This allows for them to completely like they don't have to tell developers to be hey develop for.
No, they don't. Right, because it's already like that. Yeah, I mean, you're right. And here's the thing: that like most new consoles when they come out, like this is a problem that we had with the new Xbox and the new PlayStation. They don't have like any games on them. Like you can play some of the last generation, but it's like, then there's the people who are like, oh, what's the point? I mean, they're even going to be putting some of the newer games on older consoles. So there's no point to get it right now unless I really, really want it to look nice in my living room. But the thing is, like you said, this already has like an extensive library, and it's not like it's saying, I mean, it's like a handheld console, right? But it's like it's its own thing in the sense that like it offers some sort of like it's an alternative. Like first of all, like you said earlier, it opens up the PC gaming market to people who don't want to spend as much, but like it allows them to like kind of test the waters. And two, I mean, I think that this like because of that, there'd be a ton more people buying a ton more games off the Steam at the Steam shop. And three, it already has like so many games on it, and originally you would say like, oh well, yeah, but it's the same thing for like Xbox and PlayStation. Well, no, because there is no difference. I mean, sure, it has some like new gimmicky stuff and like it's better hardware in general. It's like a general upgrade, right? But this is like you can play it on the go, so it has its own purpose.
Yeah.
So, yes, so very interesting.
Even people that had PCs before, I honestly would think that they would buy this too because, like, you could play this like anywhere you are. That's so cool.
Another point though is that like okay, so a $400 gaming PC, it would not be as capable as this tiny thing is. So really,
Oh,
like
very
even
true.
up to like an $800 gaming PC, it would not be as good as this. So really, if you want to get into the gaming PC, if you want to get to the gaming PC market, then this is your first like go-to. This is going to be the best bet.
Yeah, and honestly, I am really proud of Valve for doing this because I mean, it's kind of like a realization now, but because they're providing like an opening like this for people that might not have as much money or might not want to invest in a giant ass computer when they don't like they haven't even tested the waters yet. This is like a perfect way to give them an avenue. And it's genius for them too, because they're gonna get so much more money off of people buying games.
Yes, and unless you guys have any other further points, I feel like we have explained it enough, and that is where we should end the episode.
Well, I do want to say one more thing.
Okay.
There has been a pattern of this too, because not this. Earlier we were talking about how like Nintendo is just so much better at making handheld consoles in the past. Well, like I said, one reason is just because they focus on the game part of it rather than the hardware itself. Well,
Very true.
yeah, so like they're not only is that like you can see like you can see that recent history of like the PS Vita compared to the Switch, or like no, not the Switch, that 3DS. But you can also compare it to like think about like the Game Boy. You think like, oh, all portable consoles back then were green or black and white or whatever you call that. No, that's not true. There were other consoles coming out during that time that were like fully colored. Graphics were like way better, but people didn't get them because,
Yeah,
well,
the Sega
they
Game
were
Gear that was clunky and huge.
they were huge. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's like a
What
pattern
was
of
it?
this where like
Atari's one.
I can't.
Atari had a handheld that was
Yeah,
really fat.
they did.
Yeah.
Sega had one too,
Yeah,
but like
Sega's was pretty nice though. I love that thing.
yeah, but like but my point is Nintendo
Atari
like,
Lynx, that's what it's called.
yeah, Nintendo focused, and I think maybe I don't have enough. Like, I never even played those things. I just know the history of it, so maybe those games are as good. But I say that I'm speculating that people would be drawn to a Nintendo handheld more, even if it's worse, because, well, one, reputation, but obviously they didn't have a reputation. But two, just because they focused on the games more than the hardware. And I mean, back then you'd say the reason is like, oh well, it's like huge compared to Nintendo. Like you could fit that thing in your pocket. But then like now I would say it's more based on their reputation in the games that they make. But it's the same formula. They haven't changed. They focus on the game more than the hardware.
What did I? Okay. I think
Unknown.
I think you're extremely right. I
Unknown
think that is what
266 kilobytes.
I think that is what propelled Nintendo versus any other competitor. And I do think though that Valve release is a turning point in the handheld game, because this is something that's so much more powerful and
We should yeah, I mean
anything
you're right. Sorry. I try to like predict where people are gonna end their sentences, but I just am so terrible at that.
I do that too. It's okay.
I wanted to ask though, should we ask Zane for like his final opinion, like kind of like
Yeah,
it's
for
kind of
sure.
like a bite-sized part where you could like take it and make it part of like the promotion of like this episode, like if you wanted the trailer or something.
Yeah, like you just bought a car at our dealership, and we want you to be like, I love this dealership.
No. Say like what is your opinion? Like give us your wholesale like rounded opinion of the Steam Deck game and what you think that means for the future of the gaming industry.
Okay, so before I do that, I want to make one final point because I just kind of researched this a little bit. So while you guys were talking, I was curious about the history of handheld consoles, right? Yeah, like where they came from, what started it, right? And I found a console that is kind of what Valve's trying to do right now. Okay, it was called the Gamecom Portable.
Ooh, it sounds nice.
And it was introduced in it was released in mid '99, right? As a rival to the what was it?
It had a stupid fucking name, dude.
Yeah,
the game
Neo Geo?
It was okay. It was a rival of Nintendo's Virtual Boy.
Oh, yeah.
That is. I mean,
Just
that's
honestly,
that's
that
not a hard
Gamecom
thing to be
might
a
have been
rival
better.
to.
And also, it was marketed though. They created a Gamecom Pro Pocket Pro, a professional version, right, as a rival to the Game Boy Color. They marketed it towards older audiences, just like Valve was doing. It was technology way more advanced than the Game Boy Pro, so many more features, so much more better hardware. It was the first system to introduce onboard memory.
But it was ahead of its time, wasn't it?
That could support a lot more like data than a GameCube. I mean, not a GameCube, a Game Boy Color. Okay, but two things happened. One, it was way ahead of its time, and nobody knew how the hell to use it, right? And two, it didn't have very good sales.
I mean, I think that's a result, right? I mean, like,
yeah,
I think, like you said, like it's way ahead of its time because.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I would think that gaming isn't something that would be as prevalent to adult audiences as it would be now.
What?
Did it have cellular? Like, were you able to call people on that?
Yeah, you could. Also had a calendar and a phone book.
What? That's crazy. It's like it's basically a phone.
What I'm worried about for Valve, especially, is because of their past poor hardware experiences. Is that this is going to be way ahead of its time? They're doing too much to try to save too little, and it's going to be like another Steam controller. Like it's going to be good, it's going to be useful, but it's not going to get very many sales. In the long run.
It does.
Not pre-orders, like because they have like a shit ton of pre-orders, but like actual physical brick and mortar sales.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about them kind of falling off.
See, so you're thinking about like over the long term, you think that like Nintendo and those other companies are going to sell more than the Steam Deck is. And that actually does make sense. Once this hype wears off, what do we have left? I mean, it's a great console, but you do have a good point.
The battery life, the questionable performance at high resolutions. I mean, I'm just worried it's not going to be what they promised.
The position of the buttons.
If they even like, if it even manages to, they might be able to still make a platform because remember they're making their SteamOS open source for anyone.
Yeah, of course.
If any other companies want to get into it, they
can. I would say SteamOS and the Steam Deck are two extremely different products that they're trying to put into one. Yeah. I think SteamOS is a lot more profitable, personally. But anyways, the point is, the Gamecom thing only sold like less than 300,000 units in like a 5-year span. Like nobody bought this thing.
I mean, I don't think it'll be a direct parallel though, because I mean, times have changed. Now adult audiences are more likely to be like more likely to game. I mean, you're probably. I mean, like my uncle, right? He's in his 40s. He plays like Stardew Valley, so it's like it's common to see people play video games now.
My dad.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad will probably beat me in Titanfall 2 if I play him.
Titanfall 2 is good. Well, what I think the Steam Deck has going for it that is better, or like what I think will make it succeed is the fact that it already has your entire Steam library on it, meaning you can pay for any games,
Yeah, that's true.
Which is huge because most handhelds or consoles fail just because they don't have enough gaming support. This already comes with all of the gaming support.
You could play Five Nights at Freddy's on it.
Yeah.
Hey, that brings up the question then: who is this for? Because I don't want to buy it. Like I'm a PC. I'm a PC gamer. First of all, I'm a PC gamer. I have lots of games on my PC.
No, but
you already have a PC.
Like that's the thing, though. Yeah, it's like if you want to get into PC gaming, then this is the best way because you could. It's the cheapest way. You could dock it and you could play PC games on your computer better than an $800 gaming PC can.
Yep. It's for those people. It's okay. Now this is. I mean, it's a fair point, Carter. You have a PC. But we don't know, like, I mean, I guess, this is just speculation, but I mean, I already said this. Nintendo fans usually are probably not going to have a PC because they're getting those Nintendo systems in the first place.
Yeah.
Now, so I think that it's marketed towards them, like Zach said, because since they're not likely to have a PC and they're not going to get one because it's like $800 for a good one, then I mean, paying $400 for something that you probably wouldn't have to like update or anything, because that's another thing that I'm scared about is like changing the parts in your PC as the games get better and better. But I think that this is going to be one thing that it'll be able to play those games just like fluidly, like you don't need to worry about anything.
Not really. I mean,
not really.
if the games advance, you're probably gonna make another one.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I think in like 2 to 3 years. But
Okay.
the point is, you still have an entire back catalog of all these other games.
true.
Like, so like Nintendo Switch, it doesn't have that many old games on it.
I just kind of heard that wrong because I was my mentality was like, oh yeah, I already have a bunch of Steam games. I could play them on the go. This is like I was thinking more of like the games you already own instead of all the games you could own.
No, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
But then
That
it's starting to be a
too-
little bit daunting because there's so many options.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'd be
like,
too overwhelmed with all the options, so I just wouldn't play it. I don't know if I should play the game or not.
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know. We'll just have to see because like this is all speculation. I mean, it's literally not even out yet, so we have yet to see
We
how
did all this, and the hardware isn't even final, so who knows how it makes.
Everything we just talked about for the past hour and a half could be total bullshit in a month.
All the hardware just changed, and Valve is like, it's not open source, and you have to buy new
Valve
games.
said nothing is final yet. Like, this could all be different in a month.
They might actually listen to people and like change the position of the buttons on the controller too, and maybe like the grip on the back of it.
I doubt they'll go that far.
Yeah. What do you guys think about if they move the trackpad above the joysticks button? Would you like that more? And then they could adjust the buttons to lower? Like,
I'd rather, honestly, I like it just the way it is, personally.
Yeah, I think if they're gonna have that in there in the first place, then it's fine.
I mean, I guess it depends on what they expect people's main use is going to be. Do they expect people are going to use the Joy-Cons more or the trackpads more?
Well, that's why they have both, But apparently, the trackpads are in the ideal position, so I guess they...
The buttons, though, they kind of scare me because it's like they're going to fall off the controller.
Yeah, the B seems like it's going to fall. It's like hanging on the edge. It's hanging on for dear life. Yeah. But, okay, so is that all, guys?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're up, like you guys said, we just have speculation up until it comes out in December, which is actually pretty soon, and I'm sure we'll see the occasional YouTube video on it.
For sure.
Oh yeah, every.
I think people will get it early too, right? Because they send like review versions to some people.
Probably like a month early, maybe.
Yeah, but then they also have an embargo, so you can't. Oh, I'm gonna love the Linus Tech.
Sec. What happened to AMD's portable gaming PC?
Are you talking about the Alienware thing?
I don't know. I don't think so. You're talking about
Alienware revealed.
No, I don't. I think it was you said AMD, not Alienware. AMD was releasing their own portable handheld console PC gaming thing, whatever, like a month or two ago, or maybe even more than that. Is that coming out, and is that going to compete directly with this?
I don't know, but if that is the case, then honestly, I would want it to run on the SteamOS because that already has access to every game, which would be cool.
I think when it comes down to it, people are going to be more likely to get the Steam Deck anyways, because if they're not going to use the SteamOS, like say they use like, wait, who are the people that made Fortnite? They made their own like store, right? Like say it runs off of that
Epic
store.
Games Store.
Yeah, like I doubt many people have like as many games on that already as they would with like Steam, which has been around for a couple of years already.
Even worse, the Discord Premium Game Store.
Oh no! They make a console.
Yes,
it's
that's
like
what it's called.
It's the best console ever, but it's so bad because you're only constricted to Discord.
Hey, at least it have a really good built-in like game chat.
Yeah, it would. Okay, so that was a really good episode. I really liked the conversation we had about it. Yeah,
I left
so,
for like 20 minutes in the middle of it.
No, you didn't. Shh.
No, you didn't. You were still saying stuff.
Yeah, we were like
Cut that out.
racing,
Cut that
and
out.
You kept being like, yes.
Very short answers.
Yeah.
Very
Are you-
abrupt answers.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, by the way, Zane.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, dude, it's cool.
Anytime.
Dude,
Yeah.
we should definitely have you on again.
Yes, more technology stuff. But that's everything. So tune in for our next episode, which will be about King the Conqueror.
Spoilers.
Well, no, it's going to be titled that. People are going to know.
I mean, that is technically still spoilers, but
No, it wouldn't be spoilers if you didn't point out it was spoilers.
It's been a week.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
but it's Qate.
I mean, he is something that exists already, so that's fair.
No, but if you didn't point out that it was spoilers, then no one would have known. Like, if no one had seen...
They don't even know what we're talking about.
But the fact that you said it was spoilers is what made it
Spoilers for
spoilers.
what? I didn't. Spoilers for
I
what?
can't
didn't
say, but now
Yeah,
they're going
right?
to assume. Now they're going to assume.
Assume
they're
what?
gonna
It
wonder,
doesn't matter.
What is it?
They don't know.
They're going to wonder what is this spoilers for, and now they're going to figure it out because of you.
Why would
So
they
thank
watch
you.
the
Thank you.
episode? Why would they watch the
know.
episode if they didn't watch that show, though?
Hey, I mean, to be fair, in that episode, they never said Kang the Conqueror.
That's true. They said,
They
"Oh, you
never
could
said-
call
He
me
said
a
no
conqueror
conqueror.
of sorts.
No
Just talk about
yeah.
many names,
Yeah,
you know, Conqueror.
You
A-
could call me a conqueror of sorts."
A conqueror, not the conqueror. A conqueror.
I'm so excited about
Conqueror's
it.
bad for a day.
But that's all I have for now. Bye.
Your mom,
See you
bye.
guys.
This podcast is an Anna Podcast Network production. For more like this, check out Two People in a Podcast on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast.